my Heart to Heart podcast. Let me just give you a brief introduction. My name is Sinéad Mc Kiernan, and I have been working in the wellbeing area for over 15 years now. My own experience brought me to deep dive into all aspects of well-being. I was an art student. I loved art. I was so creative. I went to art college. I got my degree, but I also was living the college life and didn't look after myself very well. It brought me down the road to anxiety, panic disorder, panic attacks every day for nearly 2 years in my early 20s. It developed into agoraphobia. I was afraid to leave my house. I was afraid of social situations, conversations, going anywhere, doing anything. I had to stop working, and it led to chronic fatigue. So I didn't feel like I had great support at the time through my GPs that I went to. And the only option that I was given was antidepressants. I knew that I wasn't depressed and I knew that I needed to find another way. So that brought me to all aspects of well-being. I looked at my food, I looked at what I was watching, who I was talking to, and all of the things that I was digesting around me, people, conversations, media, food, drinks, whatever it was. So I stopped drinking. I started eating healthier. I swapped my caffeine for herbal teas. I started yoga. I got on my bicycle and went to yoga, even though it was torture. I remember one particular anxiety attack moment in the house on my own. I was living in a house in Galway. I was in the house on my own and I was standing up against a wall, and the noise was so loud, and the ground was moving. I felt so unsteady, and this was often a normal side effect of anxiety. And now, of course, I understand how powerful our brains are in creating our thoughts, our emotions, our moods, and our feelings. So I experienced it all for a couple of years. It was crippling and it was tough, but I brought myself through it. I healed myself. I stepped over the fear every day. That was the choice that I made. I stepped over it every day and brought myself completely out of my comfort zone. I hated the yoga classes. I hated Shavasana. I was so uncomfortable, but I did it because I knew there was effects happening that was making me feel more calm, more at peace, and more connected to myself again. So I have full empathy and compassion for anyone that's struggling, anyone that's suffering from mental health issues, or just feel that feeling of disconnection. So big overhaul in my life, and years later, many years of practicing yoga, I was feeling good. I was feeling like this yoga has really got something. So the thought was just there. I'm gonna go to India and delve a little bit deeper into it. So through 2015, off I went to India on my own, didn't know anything or anyone. I looked up 2 schools on the internet and wrote them down on a piece of paper. I remember sitting down and just tossing them around in my hand and just picked one out. That was the one I was going to, booked my flights, off I went. Another moment in my life that I can remember so vividly is sitting on the plane, heading off to India for 6 weeks by myself, looking out the airplane window going, wow. I could feel the little fear in my belly, but it was excitement and pride that I had overcome so much. So many years later, I've been studying and working in the area of well-being. I've trained in many styles of yoga. I've trained yoga teachers in my yoga school. I have studied meditation, mindfulness, breathing, Pilates, fitness, nutrition. Currently, I studied workplace well-being for organizations in Trinity College. So I finished that last year, or early this year. And I just continue to study and learn as much as I can because I'm fascinated about our minds, our bodies, our hearts, and all that we can learn from our experiences, and how we can overcome the power that we have within. So, my real messages that I want to bring forward in my work are empowering you to find the tools and the habits that work for you to take charge of your own health and well-being. So that is such an important message for me in my work, and I've worked with over 50,000 students over the last 10 years. So I try to bring myself back to that. I've experienced how it feels to be disconnected, and I have compassion and empathy for people. So I want to empower people, if I can, with tools and habits, and maybe even in organizations with strategies to enhance the well-being, and to remember that the power is within, and not to hand over your power easily. And the other thing that I've witnessed from my many years of hosting groups together is the connection. And I know these words are such buzzwords at the moment, and they're nearly overused: well-being and wellness and connection and community. And we hear it over and over again. And sometimes we hear it so much that it loses meaning. But it's so vivid in my mind, the meaning, because I see people, I see the connection. I know people in my community that are lonely, and I know the power of conversation, heart to hearts, connecting with people. I know the power that it has. The science is there now to back it up, but I see it in real life happening, where people are struggling on their own. But when you have that conversation with somebody else and realize that we're all the same, all our struggles are the same, and it allows you to share. It was more common in society many years ago, when there was less social media, to share, to talk, to have these heart-to-heart conversations, to cry and laugh about what's happening in our lives. But it was a form of counseling and therapy that we just opened up and shared with each other, and then we feel a little bit lighter. And also we swap information, we give each other tools and tips and advice. So my mission with this podcast is to host inspiring, enjoyable, and empowering conversations around the topics of health and well-being, hoping that you will find some inspiration to take charge of your own well-being and feel a little bit more connected to who you are. I hope you enjoy listening. I'm really grateful that you're here, and like, share, comment, subscribe, do all of those wonderful things. That would be great too.